All right, everybody. Welcome to the Titans Time Podcast, your Tennessee Titans podcast for the Pigskin Podcast Network. My name is Tanner Staggs. I'm here, as always, with my brother, Tyler Staggs. And this is our first time on a live show of Titans Time. We got our game preview for the Titans and Bills game, prime time on Monday night. Tyler, as we start to wait on some people to roll in here, go ahead for the podcast that we're going to upload after this. Let everybody know how they can support the show.
Yeah, if you want to support the podcast, go check out our merch. All you have to do is go to titans-time.myshopify.com/collections/all. Check out our shirts. We have hoodies up now, hats, like the beanies. It's getting close to, well, it is fall time. Winter time's coming. So you need some of those clothes to stay a little bit warmer when you're going outside. Also, if you're watching here on YouTube, make sure to back out of the live chat, look at that subscribe button. If it's red, click it, turn it gray, turn on the post notifications so you never miss when we upload a video. Like the video, make sure you share the video. We want to get some people in here interacting with us, even if they're Bills fans. We want to interact with some Bills fans. After the show, go down, leave us some comments on your thoughts on the show and for the upcoming game. For the people who are going to be listening to the audio version later on, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave us a 5-star rating, and leave us some comments. We'd love the interaction. I mean, we've been building up to this moment of going live because we're wanting more interaction with our fans and other Titans fans to get other opinions.
That's right. And also make sure that you're with us on social media. On Twitter, it's Titans_time. On Instagram, Titans Time Podcast. And on Facebook, Titans Time.
So, Tanner, it's time to get into this. Start talking about this game some. I mean, another, you could really say, second time in the last 2 years that these teams have been on primetime against each other, because you had the Tuesday night game last year.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, the Titans absolutely blew them out last season, but the Bills have been extremely impressive so far this year. I mean, we were talking about it earlier today. They've been the best team in the league, in my opinion, so far. So I don't think it's going to be a Titans blowout this time.
Well, would you really say the best team in the league, or just the? I mean, I know for sure the AFC, but
I mean, I personally think
you
that
look
they've
over
been the
at the
best team in the
NFC.
league.
I mean, you can definitely make that argument.
I mean, who else are you going to argue for here? I mean, I do think that the Cardinals have been good, but I don't see them being a better team than the Bills.
For the Cardinals, is it like do you think it's like the Steelers last year, where the Steelers started off undefeated and then kind of fell apart towards the end of the season? Do you see that being the case with them, or do you think that the Cardinals actually might be the top team in the NFC, and especially the NFC West?
You know, I don't know, because they have a better quarterback. I mean, it's not like the situation last season where you have Big Ben. I mean, they've got Kyler Murray. He can scramble. He's been throwing the ball good this year. So I don't think it's that type of situation. I still think that the Bills have a better team all around, though. And I mean, we're obviously going to get into that as we get a little later into the show here. But it looks like we've got Titans Rossi in here. Go ahead and throw his comment up on the screen.
Yeah, we'll say hi to a couple people. We got like you said, Titans Rossi saying, "What's up, guys? Tighten up, Rossi." Definitely, sometime when we do another one of these live shows, we're going to have to get you on here with us to talk some Titans. Who knows? Maybe I don't think we'll be able to do one for a live show for our review of this game, but maybe after the Kansas City game or something like that, we can go live and get Rossi on here with us. I'm just going to tell you, he's been a big help with helping me get this live stream stuff set up, because
yeah, absolutely.
Our first time doing this, I'm texting him, asking him questions like, "Hey, how do I do this? How do I set up this link? Where do I find it at?" Also, got my wife in here saying, "Let's go Titans time." So Yeah, got a couple people in here. Starting off hot.
Hey, I mean, having anybody in here is I mean, better than I expected. I mean, I was telling you a couple months ago, like I'm kind of afraid to go live. I don't know if we'll have anybody in there. But let's get into the news and headlines coming up on this game. And Titans Rusty's already throwing some of them out there in the comments. Get into the injury
Hey,
report.
yeah, he's not stealing you thunder or anything,
Oh, I
but
know.
man, we're fixing to get into that injury report, and I'll just leave his comment up here, and you go ahead and hop into it, Tanner.
Yeah, because that's definitely the worst thing we've seen on the injury report so far. But let's go down through this. The guys that pretty much have their status put out there already. For Christian Fulton and Monty Rice, both those guys are going to be out. And then we've got Corey Blassingame questionable. We've got Jeremy McNichols questionable. And then Chester Rogers, he's also going to be questionable for the game. But he was limited actually in practice today. One guy that kind of shocked me on here is Bud Dupree. He did not practice yesterday, but he was a full participant today, so it looks like he should be ready to go.
That's what it's looking like, and I'm going to say that yesterday it was okay. He had strung together a couple practices. We don't play until Monday. Let's let him have a Friday to rest, see how his knee's looking, everything else, and then get him back out there on Saturday. He can rest on Sunday, and let's see, if it's responding well, because that's going to be the main thing.
Right. Yeah.
But like you and Rossi both have mentioned, Matt Fulton being out, that is Caleb Farley better be ready to go. And it kind of sucks for him because with how Fulton has been playing, in my opinion, that has took some pressure off of Farley. Even though Jenkins has been playing bad, or I say bad, not great. People have been calling for Farley to be out there, but we don't want him to come back too quick, and you want him to ease in, because after being out there for a little bit week one, then not being in games for a couple of weeks, he already had some rust. So now we're fixing to throw him back out there against possibly Diggs sometimes, Sanders, Cole Beasley. I mean, he's going to have a tall task no matter who he's going up against. So he better buckle that chin strap tight and be ready to go.
Yeah, and I mean, like you mentioned, Christian Fulton being obviously stepping up as the number one guy this year, it's definitely, I feel like, taking a lot of pressure off of Farley, because if you don't have Fulton stepping up and being that number one, I mean, Fulton, he's been great this season. He's been the best cornerback. He's allowed only a 43.2% completion percentage on 32 targets. If you compare that to Janoris Jenkins, who also has had 32, he's been targeted 32 times. He's allowed a 68.8% completion rate. So, I mean, in my opinion, he's not been great at all. I don't think he is cornerback one material. So if you don't have Fulton stepping up there, you have a lot more eyes on Farley saying, okay, what's going to happen with this first round pick here? This kid's supposed to be really good. When are we going to see him out on the field?
Because let's just be honest, as Titans fans, we can overreact sometimes.
True.
We can. So we're calling for Farley to be out there. But if Farley goes out there and he's getting smoked and just every play they're going at him, lighting him up, then we're going to be like, okay, we wasted a first round pick on him. Like, come. But if you step back and really look at it, it's like, all right, he hasn't really had a chance to get out there. This is going to be his first game of getting out there and really playing probably the whole game. I mean, unless they decide to throw Breon Borders out there. I mean, we're just assuming that Farley's going to get the start.
Right.
We don't know for sure.
I mean, I definitely think it's possible that you see Borders out there. They've definitely been, it seems, babying Caleb Farley into this. So it really wouldn't shock me if you saw Breon Borders go out there. But it seems like we've just these past few weeks been spending a lot of time at the beginning of the podcast going over this injury report. And I mean, honestly, that's because the one that we have this week is still a long one, but like it makes the one from
It's
last
not
week
as
look like nothing.
yeah, look like. Well, I mean the one from last week looked like a book compared
Yeah, yeah.
to
That's
to
what I'm
this
saying.
one,
It makes.
right?
I mean,
And
I guess I said
and
that backwards, but
yeah, but Rossi coming in with another comment. The best news he's heard all day is that Dupree's playing. I mean,
yeah, I agree with that.
I'm definitely hoping that that's the case, that he is actually playing, and it's not one of those things where he's practiced pretty much all week and then he's going to be a healthy scratch for the game. Like, we need
Right.
all hands on deck for this game.
Yeah, and I mean, it obviously looks like Julio's going to be back out there. So I mean, we're kind of bouncing back here from the injury bug that's been going on. We were just talking about, but still, we've. I mentioned this to you earlier today. We've hardly got to see this team at full strength throughout the season. So I mean, that's something to stay optimistic about here.
And
Even
that's the thing. If we got this team at full strength, are we talking about the Titans being the best team in the AFC right now? I mean, that's an argument that you technically could make
yeah, because you
if
don't. I
this
mean,
team was
you
at
don't
full
know what
strength.
it's going to look like because they've had so many injuries here to start the season. But I mean, another thing to mention is you said earlier today that there currently were only 51 players active on the roster. So could you see Amani Hooker or Darrington Evans end up being activated for this game? I
Out
mean,
of
I don't
those
know.
two, who do you think would be more important to get back out there? Out of Hooker and Evans,
I think
who?
they're both
Because I know McNichols is questionable. He didn't practice today, right? Or was he limited?
right. Well, yeah. Yeah, he did not practice today. So
So I'm going to say there's
I
a
don't
good
know.
chance
Between
that
those
he's
guys, I
out.
mean,
Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. But my Wi-Fi's it's kind of slowing down a little bit here, so I'm having a little bit of trouble. But between those two guys, I don't know. I would say that they're kind of even because you've got Fulton out, which kind of leaves a little bit of uncertainty in the secondary. So having Amani Hooker back there at safety could be of help. You also have Darrington Evans, who would fill that role, I assume, of Jeremy McNichols, who comes in as that third down back on
And
passing downs.
that's the biggest thing is, especially if McNichols doesn't play, you can make the argument that both of them are important because it's like, okay, we need that other running back behind Henry for when he does need a rest. And I mean, we need Hooker back. I
Yeah.
I thought when Crookshank first started filling in, his first game that he filled in, that he done a decent job. But over the last couple of games, he, I mean, he hasn't been it. His
Well,
coverage is not that good, and I think it would pay off to get Hooker back. It would
I
help our
mean, let's be
secondary more.
honest. This is not the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is not the New York Jets. This is the Buffalo Bills. So you've got to have all hands on deck for this game. I mean, anybody that is somewhat capable of going out there and playing, as far as your starters goes, they've got to be busting it to get out there and try to play.
I mean, they had the Bills have just been pretty much destroying teams since week one. Week one, they had that loss to the Steelers. And then after that, they shut out the Dolphins. They played Washington after that, then the Texans. Then, the next big matchup for them was the Chiefs. And you knew it was like a revenge game for them against the Chiefs because of the AFC Championship game last year. I mean, you had Stephon Diggs, who stayed out on the field after that loss, watching the Chiefs celebrate. So you knew that he was going to be even more motivated. I think he actually only ended up with a couple of catches, but one of them, the deep ball to him was a little bit underthrown. But it seemed to me like he caught it and he just stopped running. Like he caught it and he looked around while walking, I guess thinking that no one was around him. And
Right.
but he could have walked into the end zone or ran away from the guy. And he's going to be a handful. And this, like I said, this could be a revenge game for them after last
Yeah,
year.
yeah. I mean,
They're coming
absolutely.
in after getting embarrassed 42-16 when people were saying last year, oh, this is one of the top teams in the AFC. And now we're saying they're the top team possibly in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, they've played great so far this year. And I mean, they were playing great last year. And then it was like that Tuesday night game. I don't know. Maybe they try to put a little bit of that on the fact that the game was postponed. And I mean, I believe they did. I can't really think back that far. But they're definitely going to be coming out and trying probably to put this game away as early as possible. But let's go ahead and pull up some more comments. And then while you're doing that, I also want to ask in the chat, I mean, what do you guys think about, I mean, what do you think about the Bills? Where do you think they are as far as the NFL rankings? You think they're kind of at the top? I definitely feel like they're probably the best team in the AFC right now, at least until the Titans get completely healthy and we see what's going on with them when they're at full strength.
Yeah, so we have Bryce Pratt in here saying, "What's up, man? How's it going?
What's going on? How's it going, man?"
Titan Anderson in the building saying it's time for some TTP. And man, we are doing great. How are you doing? Just ready for this Monday night showdown.
What's going on, TA? Thanks for stopping by.
And we'll, when they start answering that question, we'll start pulling up some of their comments and thoughts on where they think the Bills rank right now. But yeah, I mean,
in the meantime, I mean, this is kind of what I have on the Bills. There's a lot of things that they're the best in the league at right now. I mean, one of those things has been protecting Josh Allen. They've only allowed 5 sacks, and that's tied for the best in the league. Honestly, a lot of that is probably the fact that, like you mentioned earlier, they've been killing every single team. So, I mean, they've been ahead and been either running the ball or getting the ball out quick with short passes, just keeping that clock running. But I mean, Bud Dupree should be back, like we mentioned earlier. And then obviously Harold Landry will be a big part of that too. Landry leads the team. He's got 9 quarterback hurries, 4.5 sacks on the year. So hopefully, I mean, with adding Bud Dupree in there and then the way that Harold Landry's been playing, they can get to him and kind of disrupt things early as far as their passing game goes.
Well, and another bad thing is Josh Allen is one of those quarterbacks who can use his legs to avoid the rush and make you pay. I mean, we joke around about the Ravens a lot, their best running back being Lamar Jackson. But you look at this Buffalo Bills team, and you could make the argument that their best running back is Josh Allen. I mean, the dude can terrorize teams with his legs. I mean, he's hurdling Chiefs guys to get a first down.
That was insane. I mean, I completely forgot about that until you brought it up. But I'm literally watching the game, and it's like that's Madden-like.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that happened, and then they replayed it in slow motion, and I'm just like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah. And like that's the thing is he can kill you with his legs like that, but he's also a bigger body quarterback. So even if you get back there to him, he's hard to take down. So, what do you do in that situation? And like you said, I'm just wondering if we can get some of that offensive line protection that they have. Because
yeah, I know. I mean,
you're looking at 5 sacks compared to 20 sacks, and it looks like we have had some people get in the comments a little bit more. My wife saying going to be a really tough team to beat. She says, as long as I'm seeing the Titans play like the Titans, I won't be mad about it. Depends on which Titans team we're talking about seeing play.
That's what I was about to say.
TA says that he's getting ready to see Halloween Kills again. Matt, we've been hearing mixed reviews on that.
I'm excited to see it. I haven't watched it yet, but
I haven't either. I would like to see it, but some people saying it's bad, some people saying it's good. But like the old saying goes, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. So, but yeah, let us know what you think about it. Bryce saying that's going to be a good ass movie.
I hope so, because I'm going to be disappointed if it's not.
Rossi telling everybody to hit that like button. Yes, make sure to go hit that like button. We really appreciate it. And then TA saying that he's a huge slasher mark. So hey, I Mike Myers. I mean, he's one of those guys that not to get too much off of what we're really wanting to talk about here, but he's one of those guys. I'm going to tell you, when I've seen that first, whenever I watched the original Halloween, I was a little freaked out at first. Now that I've gotten a little bit older and everything, I'm like, all right, I can handle these movies, but that wouldn't want to be a dude I'd want to run into.
I like that they're making some new ones now, because like the old movies, like, I mean, they were obviously good in their time, but making them with like all the new technology and stuff that they have now, they're just so much better.
Yeah, sure. So,
but yeah, hey, like you mentioned just a second ago, I know you mentioned, and I was going to get to this, the fact that the Titans they've given up 20 sacks on the year. And I feel like that's something that this Bills defense is really going to exploit, because it's not like we've played any incredible pass rushes. I mean, it's not like the Jaguars are coming out and just putting, 5-6 sacks on everybody. The rookie in Buffalo, though, Gregory Rousseau, he's only got 3 sacks on the season, but he's been like incredible so far, in my opinion. And he's one of those guys. He's extremely athletic. He can get around the edge really well. So that's a guy that I'm kind of nervous to see. I don't know. I hope that they can come up with something to keep the Bills away from Ryan Tannehill, because they've obviously had the worst pass protection in the league so far, and they're not going to win this game if they're giving up 5, 6, 7 sacks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you're saying we haven't played any teams with just a real dominant pass rush, considering
I'm talking about lately.
Considering you had the Cardinals put up 6 sacks on us, and then you had who was it that had 5 sacks? Was it the Jets? I believe. Am I remembering that right?
I can't remember exactly.
Get into a couple more comments right quick. TA saying live streams go off topic sometimes. Yeah, man, we're definitely starting to figure that out, but it's fun interacting. I mean, one reason we wanted to get to this point was interacting with people, and he's getting ready to go. And yeah, TA, we appreciate you tuning in, man.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by.
And then Courtney Jackson saying we should get Michael Pruitt involved in the offense more. He is a weapon. And I feel like that is a good comment to hit on, because I agree.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, he has made some big plays for us since being back here in Tennessee. Ferkser, he's been going through. He hadn't looked like what he looked like last year. Had some drops. And then Swain, I think he just needs to be off the field right now, because the main thing he's here for is blocking. And I don't know if you went back and got to watch it or seen where some people broke down film, but like a couple of the runs where Derrick Henry got stopped, like in the backfield, it's because Swain just flat out missed his block. I mean, it looked like Tim Tebow in the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, it's kind of hard to start to get other people involved in the offense when you can't even keep people off of Ryan Tannehill for more than 2 seconds. So I think that might be part of it, but also at the same time, we know that they get into that repetitive offense mode where it's literally run Derrick Henry on 1st and 2nd down, and then either pass it to AJ Brown or Julio, if you even have those guys on the field. We haven't these past couple of weeks, except for AJ Brown last week. Or come run some crazy wildcat trick play and try to get a first down there on 3rd.
That wildcat trick play was working, though.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like to see him mixing it up with stuff like that, and I think having Pruitt involved a little bit more would probably be a good thing. Especially, like, I think you made a good point earlier that Ferkser, I think he might be a guy, and I don't know. I need to see a little bit more of him, but I think he might be a guy that thrives more as a tight end too. And I think maybe Michael Pruitt should be the guy that steps up into that tight end one role.
And he may very well do it. Like I said, he's been making so far this year out of our tight ends, he's been the one making like the big plays for us, whether it be the first down catch or a third down catch getting the first down, or whether it's him getting in the other team's head and causing them to get a penalty to move us on down the field. I mean, just something to spark the offense and get us going. And that's what we need right now is just someone, especially when Julio and AJ were out. I mean, we needed a guy that could make plays for us. He had that touchdown against Jacksonville where, I mean, really it was a blown coverage by Jacksonville, but he was wide open, was able to, he didn't start looking upfield before he caught the ball. He made sure he secured it and then took off for the touchdown. So I definitely don't think it would hurt to get him more involved.
And I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No, you go on.
I mean, I was just going to mention that we were talking about the Titans offense, and I had something to bring up here about Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer there at safety. I mean, how do we think that's going to affect what the Titans are trying to do on offense? Because that's a duo that's been together since 2017, and they're solid back there at safety. I mean, it's going to be hard to get anything over the top over them. I mean, what do you got to do to have some productive offense against these guys? Because the Bills on defense have just been incredible.
Find creative ways to get the ball in your playmakers' hands. I mean that's going to be the main thing. And I know it sounds kind of basic, but if you get the ball, if you find a creative way to get the ball in Julio Jones's hands or AJ Brown's hands, and just let them try to make a play. But even with that being said, Julio Jones has been one of those guys throughout his career that even when he faces defenses that other teams have had trouble getting over the top on, he finds a way to do it.
So, yeah, because he's just a different type of athlete.
And like it depends. And right here, I want to bring up this comment from Jessica. She said that Hyde and Poyer will be closer to the line than they were against Kansas City. And that is a very good point because looking back through the games that
they definitely should be anyways.
Right. The games that Buffalo has played this year, they have not played a team with the caliber running back that the Titans have in Derrick Henry. So if they want to back those guys off and have them down the field to keep AJ and Julio from taking the top off, by all means, back them up and let Derrick Henry face a box that's not that stacked.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of have to pick and choose there because it's either going to be Derrick Henry going for 6, 7, another 5, just literally shredding them on every single run, or you bring those guys up to help out a little bit. And I mean, now Julio and AJ are both back, and I'm sure Ryan Tannehill is kind of itching to be able to throw it downfield to those guys after having them both out against the Jets, and then only AJ, who of course was getting all the attention against the Jaguars.
And honestly, don't overlook Marcus Johnson, because if Julio and AJ are back, then Marcus Johnson's not going to be going up against like one of their top corners. So if Hyde and Poyer are having to come up to help out with Henry, and Jessica says another thing, KC did not get behind the Bills. No, they didn't. And the main thing is, even with all the weapons that Kansas City has, they don't have a running back that is a threat like Derrick Henry. I mean,
does anybody?
No, not in my opinion. You'll have Browns fans arguing that they have Chubb, but not trying to say anything bad on him, but he's out.
He hasn't even been the best running back on his team this year.
Well, he's out injured again. So, no one in the league has a running back like Henry. And I mean, Jessica is she's giving us some good stuff to talk about here. In the last 3 meetings, Henry has not gotten over 80 yards against the Bills. You have anything?
Hopefully that definitely changes this time. I feel like it should. The only way that doesn't happen, the only way he does not get over 80 yards is if the Bills come out and go ahead by 2 or 3 scores within, by the middle of the second quarter.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back through and look at this game last year. Yeah, Henry did. He only had 57 yards against them last year, but he had 2 touchdowns. So, at that point, I would take him not getting 100 if he's putting up 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Well, I need those yards from him for some bets I got going on. So,
well, I mean, for this game, you have anything else that you're really wanting to hit on as far as just talking about these 2 teams battling it out again this year?
I mean, for me, I'm ready to start getting into some of these segments we've got whenever you are.
All right. Well, with that being said, our first segment that we always hop into is our bet segment.
All right, so let's get into best bets presented to you by DraftKings. The
Cut you
I
off
forgot that we had
there.
2 things I forgot we had 2 things that come up right there. So let's get into best bets now. Presented to you by DraftKings. There's another week of the NFL coming up. So, I mean, obviously another shot to win big money. DraftKings, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can come in, use our promo code TPPN, and bet $1 to win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. This has been the deal for this was the same deal as last week.
Yep.
And I keep mentioning the last 0-0 tie in the NFL was in 1943. So obviously a no-brainer. If you live in a state that doesn't have the sports book available, I think Alabama is one of those. DraftKings is not going to leave you out to dry. Everybody can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contest. As far as that goes, DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Once again, promo code TPPN. Otherwise, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN. Throw down $1 on any NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. That's promo code TPPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. 1 per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Man, sounds like you need a breather after that.
And then one more thing to throw out. The general info for this game, obviously, coming from DraftKings, the Bills are favored by 5.5 points, and the point total right now is set at 53.
Which I'm just going to say, I guess after the Bills' last couple of games, it's kind of surprising that they're not favored by more than that.
Well, I mean, I want to see in the chat, how do you guys feel about the Bills being favored by almost a touchdown? I mean, I know you were just about to say that you felt like they should be favored by more.
Well, I'm surprised Vegas doesn't have them favored by more, just with how, I mean, they went up against Kansas City, beat them by 18, and they've just been ever since week 2, they have been destroying teams. Which again, going through that list, not taking anything away from the Bills, but it's not like they've played the best competition in the NFL. But getting into our best bets, I know we usually both throw 2 out there. I'm going to throw one of mine out there
and
first.
We both currently sit at 2 and 4, so we've got some catching up to do to get back to even.
We do. My first one that I'm going to throw out there is that Randy Bullock is, for his kicking points, over 6.5.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about that one.
It's one of those, when you look at it, you're kind of wondering. But again, with how this Bills defense has been playing, Tennessee, I believe they're going to – I think they will move the ball pretty well. And it could give Bullock chances if they have drives that stall out.
That's true. I mean, I didn't even see that one on there. That's an interesting one. First one I'm going to throw out. Yeah, you're right. First one I'm going to throw out is Dawson Knox as an anytime touchdown scorer. It's at plus 140. So even better than even odds. He scored a touchdown in every game since week 1. I don't think he's going to stop here. Yes, I think somebody's going to score a touchdown against the Titans. That's my first
one. Kill you over that one. No, I think that's a good one. I honestly didn't even look at the anytime touchdown scores, because it seems like no matter who I bet on in those, I will bet on the top guys, and then some random fifth string tight end or lineman will score the touchdown. So I've just kind of given up on throwing those out there. The next one that I'm going to throw out is actually going to be for Josh Allen, over 288.5 pass yards. I mean, he likes to throw the ball around.
Listen, here's the thing too. When they get ahead, they don't stop throwing the ball. They keep throwing the ball, and they're especially going to do it in this game, because I'm sure they want to do exactly what the Titans did to them last season. Keep piling the points on. So,
and we'll get into a little bit later if we think that's actually going to happen or not. But when you're looking at guys like Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady, Josh Allen, guys like that, whenever I see 288 yards or where they just have to hit 289 yards, I'm like, that's just another casual day for them.
Yeah, dude, these guys hit 300 yards like it's nothing.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I got to go with that one.
My last one, and I thought you said you had one for Ryan Tannehill, but you may have just skipped over it.
Well, I wrote down 4 because we don't get together on these before we record. Especially doing this live stream, I wanted to write down 4 in case we ran into something where maybe we ended up with the same one as each other. Because what fun is that if we both throw out the same one and then get it right? I mean, I'm trying to beat you on this.
True. I'm going to say Ryan Tannehill's longest rush over 10.5 yards, and that is minus 110. He's averaged 7.6 yards per attempt this season, which is the highest of his career, believe it or not, even though he's getting up to like 34, I think. I think he's going to drop back more than normal this game. So between possibilities to scramble, and then they might throw in that read option a little bit that they like to run sometimes. I think that he's going to have at least one over 10.5 yards.
All right. So you're saying his longest rush over 10.5?
Yeah.
Is that right? All right. And I didn't throw the odds out there for mine, but and I'm not these won't be counting towards what we've thrown out there for our best bets. But I want to throw these out there just so everyone knows, in case they're not on the DraftKings app. They also have Ryan Tannehill over or under 15.5 rush yards. So if he gets that longest run of over 10.5, I mean, he'll be closing in on the over for this. And then they have Henry's rushing yards listed at 97.5. So I want to just something a little bit different here. I want to know your thoughts on that.
Well, I'm going to throw something up. I'm going to throw something up here on the screen for you.
I was wondering if you were going to go back to that. So I just seen those, thought it was interesting, wanted to point them out to you. We'll get into a couple of these comments again. My wife saying, I'm thinking O-line may be our weak point again this game. That being said, moving down the field may not be our forte unless Henry can break some deep runs. And
I agree. It's going to be tough.
One thing we haven't talked about that Courtney brings up, I'm happy to get Avery Williamson back. He's a solid linebacker. And I'm going to say this. His game, as far as his coverage, his game, and I've seen some other people mention this as well, Rashaan Evans' game, they are similar in how they play and what their strengths and weaknesses are. The difference is Avery doesn't get you the stupid penalties that Rashaan Evans gets you. And he's probably going to be more disciplined as far as knowing what gaps he needs to fill. He's not just going to blindly guess and let the running back have a wide open lane off in a different gap that was the one he was supposed to be filling. So, yeah, I'm happy to have him back as well. Jessica saying the Bills' strongest and deepest positions are the defensive line and wide receiver. And TA, Derrick Henry is the best Titan of all time. And
oh yeah, I completely agree.
100% agree with you there, TA. I mean, we cannot argue that point. Just what he is doing right now. And
at this point, dude, this is his third season in a row that he is putting up some of these crazy, insane games. You got to just give it to him at this point. I mean,
and I've been seeing TA mention this on Twitter. I had mentioned this as well. I think whenever I'd seen something being tweeted out about what Henry was doing, and he's not even in the MVP conversation right now. And I know it's early in the season, but again, you have it coming down to the only people in that conversation are quarterbacks. You have a running back who is on pace for over 2,000 yards again. I mean, he's on pace to break so many records this year. And
let me just say that I agree with everything that you're saying, but it's a quarterback league.
But still, when you have a running back that is on this pace, and no other running back after running for 2,000 yards has even hit like over 1,500 yards, I believe it is. Like, how can you not see what he is doing and say, okay, this guy belongs in this MVP conversation? I mean, he's on pace to break the rushing yards record, and he's on pace for like 24 or 25 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, he's if he keeps up what he's doing, he's going to have an insane season. I agree with this right here. Titan Anderson says statue if he gets a ring. I mean, that would be cool. Right out in front of the stadium, just a huge Derrick Henry statue with the big eyes this big and a stiff arm out. I mean,
all right. Let me ask you this:
what stiff arm do you put on the statue?
Exactly.
That's the only question. I mean, do you go with him putting Josh Norman completely horizontal?
I think you have to.
I mean,
because
the only thing is
then Josh Norman could definitely never come back to Nissan Stadium if that's out there, because like it's going to be out there in statue form.
But you've also got Earl Thomas too. I mean, using him as a blocker.
I mean, look, the Earl Thomas one was good, but when you take another grown man and have him horizontal in the air, and the crazy thing is that play got called back, but it was still the best 5-yard run ever.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that you come in with the problem there, though, is you come into a problem putting the statue together because he was literally completely horizontal. I mean, how do you get him held up on the statue?
I mean, look,
you come into
they find ways to do.
You're right.
These statues. I'm not a statue maker. I don't know how they do it, but I'm sure they could figure out a way to do it. And Bryce saying he is on pace for 2,000 yards. Yeah, he's on pace for, closing in on 2,200 yards.
I mean, I need him to break the record.
And, yeah, you've got to bet on that. So
I feel like I should probably get like an extra point in the best bets if that ends up hidden, because
You know,
I put that in. I put that in
you
right
did.
after the news came out about there being another game put in. Is
It,
exactly when I put that
I
bet
will
in.
tell you this: if we would have started the best bet segments back then, I would let it roll over in. But we can't grandfather it in right now. I'm just going to. I need to get on there and see if they even still have it, because I would love to get in on it right now. Obviously, the odds wouldn't be as good as what you got on that, but I mean, still, it would be good to have. And then my wife saying, "Yes, the big eyes." I mean, I guess that's just his way of concentrating when he is running the ball down the field, is doing that. I mean,
Hey,
his eyes get big, and he's like, "Okay, I'm fixing to, put you down with this stiff arm."
I mean, it's iconic at this point, you know.
And I mean, now I feel like we need to get into some of our other segments here. We've already been going for over 45 minutes. So we need to get into your stat chat segment and let the people hear what you have. Did you take it off there?
I was trying to put it on.
Man, just all right. Miscommunication there between us, but let everyone
Regardless,
know
we got it up.
Your stat chat for this week.
All right. So, I mean, we've been talking about the fact that the Bills, they're one of the best defenses in the league right now. So I felt like it would be appropriate to bring up some stats about their defense and their team in general, is what I'm going to talk about at first. But Football Outsiders, obviously, they've got the DVOA that they measure, defensive adjusted value over average, which is basically they take, okay, how good was this play above the average baseline in the league, and then they adjust it based on how good is the defense that they're doing this against. So obviously, every play has a different value. On third down and 3, 4 yards is going to be better than 4 yards on a 1st and 10. I mean, that it's just a more valuable play in that scenario. And then if that same third down and 3 getting 4 yards, if that came against the Bills, other than the Jaguars, I mean, that would be weighted a little bit more. I don't know how much they exactly weight the defenses, but regardless, they've got a 43.2% defensive adjusted value over average for the first 5 games this season. And they sit way ahead of every other defense in the league right now. The Panthers are at number 2 with 16.6. So 43.2% is, and that's actually measured by how well the offense is doing. So those are negative values, but the further negative the number is for the defense, the better they're playing, because the literally teams against the Bills are getting 43.2% worse plays than what is average in the NFL. So, I mean, they've just been by far the best defense in the NFL by that measure this season. And then where this really gets interesting is that the Bills they rank 9th on the list of teams with the highest total DVOA, which is a combination of their offensive and defensive, through the first 5 games since 1983. So since 1983, some of the best teams through the first 5 games. I mean, you've got the 2009 New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees, Darren Sharper, Will Smith, who had 13 sacks that season, Tracy Porter, Roman Harper, and then you've got the 2013 Denver Broncos, Peyton Manning, Chris Harris Jr., Danny Trevathan, Von Miller. So you've got these teams that were just incredible, and that's where the Bills are ranking with right now through the first 5 games. And there's teams that played better than that, because the Bills ranked 9th, and then the Saints were 7th, and the Saints were 8th, and the Broncos were 10th. But just being ranked up there with those teams, I mean, that's just incredible. Like, they've been playing so well. They are, as far as the defensive DVOA through the first 5 games, historically, they're 2nd of all time. And they only trail the 2019 New England Patriots, which we know how good that defense was, even though, might I add, Who took down that team? So even though they were historically the best through the first 5 games, the Titans were the one that came in and put down the Patriots. The odds that they keep up that level of defensive play, it's not likely. But they do have one of the easiest strengths of schedule in the NFL. That's something that you mentioned earlier. And then as far as offensively, Dawson Knox, this is why I took that bet. He's had a 57% successful play rate in the red zone this season, and that's resulted in 3 touchdowns for him while they're in the red zone. So that's why I ended up taking that anytime touchdown score.
I mean, I told you I thought it was a good bet to take, and I'm just going to be honest. This is why you handled the stat chat segment, because you really know how to dive in on some of this stuff. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I can sit back and look and tell you, okay, that was good play. They're doing good here. This defense, I can tell you a little bit, but you're diving.
Well, luckily, I wasn't the one that was tasked with coming up with this formula for DVOA, because it's extremely complicated. It took me a while to
understand,
get it to the point where I could explain really what it was, and I still don't do it justice on how great of a stat I actually think it is.
But I mean, like you said, the Bills, their defense for sure is on pace for.
They're historically good.
Historically,
it's right there. And she said it.
Their offense too, and again, you just have to wonder: is that maybe kind of skewed just a little bit because of teams they're playing? I mean, I know this is the NFL. Any team can beat any team on any given Sunday. I mean, all you have to do is have a team have an awful week. But again, you look at their schedule. I mean, it's not like it's just crazy the teams that they've played.
Well, their schedule has been easy so far. But the crazy thing is, it's easy for the rest of the. I mean, compared to some of the other teams, like the Titans have a tough schedule coming up. The Bills' schedule is not that tough coming up, and I mean, I think that the official I think he made a good point here. I mean, we're really going to see how good they are, because, I mean, granted, their stats and everything show right now that they're better than the Titans, and they did beat the Chiefs, who are one of the best teams in the NFL. But can they keep that up on a week-to-week basis?
Well, and you and I have talked about this some, and it's good to say, but also bad to say. It's good to say when you're going up against teams that are really good, but bad to say when they're going up against teams that are bad. The Titans kind of play to their competition. So
yeah,
this Bills team that's going for historically good, the Titans may be ready to go Monday night and just put them down. And wanting to get into a couple more comments, Jessica saying, please, guys, don't forget the late, great Steve McNair. Definitely not forgetting McNair, but just in our lifetime more, this is McNair was great. His toughness, never questioned his toughness. But what Henry's doing over the past couple years, I mean, it bumps him up there. And I know TA has mentioned this several times. If Henry is able to lead us to a ring, that kind of seals the deal for sure on who the greatest Titan ever is. I mean, if he's able to get us a ring. And also want to give a shout out to Al Pierce. Tighten up, man. Glad to have you here in the chat. And that all you had for our stat chat segment there, Tanner?
Yeah, let's move it on.
All right, let's get into our quick hitters. So we start these off with our keys to the game. I'm going to go first on this. My key to the game is going to be, we got to get after Josh Allen and get him down. Don't let him escape the pocket and kill us with his legs. I mean, even though he can kill us with his arm too, we have to get pressure on him and get him down. Don't just let him extend plays like crazy.
Well, I'm going to say this exactly as I have it in my notes here. get pressure on Allen early. So, I mean, I
and
think it's important.
look,
It's
I
going to
know
be a tough task offensively for the Titans. I mean, that's just there's no way around that. So at least if they can get pressure on Allen and kind of disrupt things for the Bills offensively, maybe that can keep things even there.
And it's funny. I know whenever we came down and hung out earlier, you were trying to hide your notes from me. I promise you, I did not see any of them.
Yeah, I bet.
And I really didn't. But I think that's going to be the biggest thing. I mean, we kind of know what to expect from our offense and how our offense is going to run. I mean, they're gonna get a heavy dose of Derrick Henry, and we're gonna have Julio and AJ back, and hopefully they can help us shred this Bills defense somehow, some way.
I want to go
But
ahead and say for those that are in the live stream here, go ahead and be putting your bold predictions and score predictions for the game down in the chat so that when we get to those here in just a second, we can put them up on the screen. All right, sorry,
yes,
continue on.
for sure. But I think that we both know that if you find a way to keep this Bills team from driving down the field and putting up points, I mean, you better your chances of winning this game, like by a lot, versus just our offense trying to score with them constantly. So I feel like that's why we had to go with that. And now we will start. You mentioned it for the people in the chat. We'll start getting into to our bold predictions and score predictions. We will start off with friend of the show Drake. Let me get this banner off here right quick. His score prediction, he has the Bills winning this game 35-28. His bold prediction is that Derrick Henry rushes for 190 yards and Josh Allen throws for over 400 yards. Now, I went back and looked, and the Bills have not allowed any running back to even get close to 100 yards this season. So if Henry was able to put up 190 yards on them, that is, I mean, Derrick Henry's great, but that's going to be really saying something against this Bills defense. And if he puts up 190 against them, that better put him in the MVP conversation.
True.
Get into our next one. My wife has a Titans win 27-24. Bold prediction that the Titans sack Josh Allen twice. Considering he's only been sacked 5 times this year, I'm going to count it as a bold prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. Especially for this Titans team that's struggled to get pressure sometimes.
Well, I mean, they've been getting pressure, just haven't been able to.
Well,
they
can't get home. So
yeah, and then we have another friend of the show, Spencer. He has the Titans win in a very close one, 31-30. Bold prediction: Bills hold Henry under 100 yards rushing. Now, this is one of those bold predictions where you kind of toss it up and you're like, okay, is this that bold or
well, I've
what?
got one that's kind of on the line too. So,
well, because it's one of those things where, like I mentioned, the Bills have not allowed any running back to get close to 100 yards, but you're talking about Derrick Henry. So it's one of those where it has to count because you're talking about Derrick Henry. And do we have any thing in the chat?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and throw this up here. Can the Titans get pressure before like Pittsburgh did? I don't know. That's a really tough question because the Bills have, I mean, they've been great since that game about keeping the pocket clean for Josh Allen.
Yeah, it's which hopefully, like you said, hopefully Dupree will be back. That will help, I feel like. Then Harold Landry having just an outstanding season. I think he's going to be able to get after Josh Allen. I really do. And then you have Autry, who's been playing good. Simmons, who I mean, really, you can say that he is going unnoticed right now. I mean, there's been a lot of back and forth on Twitter about Jeffrey Simmons and his play this year. Is he doing enough? What? But the guy is legit taking on double and triple teams. And last week against Jacksonville, had like 7 quarterback pressures still. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if the Titans can get pressure with 4.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of it is going to come down to how is Bud Dupree going to be playing in this game. I mean, if he can bring it, then you've got him and Harold Landry, who's been playing great, like you mentioned, Danico Autry. So, I mean, if Bud Dupree can bring it, then you got a good shot.
Yeah. Now, I want to say hi to JD right quick. Tighten up. How's it going tonight? And I'm going to let you go first with your. Go ahead and throw out your bold prediction and score prediction.
My bold prediction.
We talked about this earlier. I've been going back and forth on this so much. I still need time to decide how I'm going to throw out my score prediction.
Yeah. And I ran this bold prediction by you earlier, so I don't want to hear anything about it. If anybody in the chat thinks that it's not bold enough, let me know because I got another one here for backup. But I think it's going to be over 65 points total scored in the game. And then, the total set at 53. So that's 12 more than what Vegas has it set at. And then I've got my score prediction. Bills 40, Titans 38. I'm gonna have to. Here's the thing. I said if they take one of the next 2 games, I consider that a success. And I promise, come back and check me next week on the podcast. I think they beat the Chiefs. So I do. I think they're going to drop this one to the Bills, but I think it's going to be okay because they're going to come back. They're going to win against the Chiefs, and they're going to go on a run.
Well, and this is again something else me and you have talked about. We would consider it a success if they get one of these next 2 games. I mean, if they get both, then great. But if they can get one of them, we feel like the Kansas City game would be the one that they would be more likely to win. Because let's be honest, Kansas City is not playing like Kansas City from the previous 2 years.
No, they're not. I mean, their defense is not anywhere near as good.
Their defense is worse than the league.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one place that you can take advantage. And if you get ahead on them early, then it's. I think you got to beat in that scenario.
Right.
I'm going to give you some more time to think on your score prediction because I know you're having a hard time with it. I'm going to throw up some bold predictions and score predictions that we've got. We've got the official tie. Titans 34-31. Bold prediction: AJ, Julio, and Henry all have 100+ yards. I mean, for all 3 of them to get over that would be a solid game offensively. So
that would be a crazy game offensively.
Yeah.
And
I hope that is the score prediction that we see there, something like that, because I do want a high scoring game. I think it'd be fun to watch. Obviously, it'd be a lot more fun to watch if the Titans come out on top.
And I think we got a couple more score predictions you can throw up there. You may be lagging a little bit.
There we go.
So Courtney's saying offensive, defensive line must play well, be extremely physical, and stay disciplined. We got to be aggressive with play calling, and Tannehill can't hold the ball too long. 31-20 Titans, and I agree with that.
Hey, aggressive play calling. I like it.
Tannehill has, because some of these sacks that he's taken are on him, where he's just holding the ball completely. A little too long, and even just not trying to escape the pocket. I mean, we've seen he can run. So if you get an opportunity, if you feel the pressure bearing down, escape the pocket or just get the ball out. Then Jessica saying 38-16 Bills. Al Pierce saying, I guess Bowen has designed a dime package to use against Allen. They tried it out on the Jags, and RD scored on one of the plays. Al follows it up by saying 31-28 Titans. And how's it going, SM Ducky? Thanks for hopping in the chat here. Now, I want to start this by saying in our season predictions that we threw out, I did have the Titans losing this game to the Bills because it is a revenge game for the Bills. I feel like I said this before the season. I feel like they're going to come down to Nashville after what happened last year and be looking to destroy the Titans. Like they want to just, like you said earlier, do what the Titans done to them last year. And I've also said on here that when it gets into the season, it is hard for me to pick against the Titans. I don't like doing it. And guess what? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to have the Titans winning this game. I do think it's going to be a high scoring game. I'm going to go Titans 35, Bills 33. And my bold prediction is that, and I ran this by you, Ryan Tannehill is going to have 4 total touchdowns. So,
yeah, I mean, against this Bills team, like I'll give you that to be bold. If they were playing, I don't know, if they were playing Kansas City next week, that's not bold because obviously we mentioned worst defense in the league. But
it's going to be interesting to see what we throw out for next week's game. But one more comment to throw up here: Kansas City has played the hardest schedule so far. Beware, all their arrogance has been knocked out of them. And they looking at the teams they've played Baltimore, they've played the Bills. I think they played the Chargers.
Which is the Chargers are good.
And I'm trying to think of who else they have played. But Cleveland. They have had a tough schedule to start out, but
they've also had a lot of injuries defensively.
Yeah, their defense. I mean, their defense this year is worse than the Titans' defense was last year, and just with their offense, really, their offense hasn't been looking like their offense. I mean, granted, could be from them playing better defenses or whatever, but some people are even saying, hey, Tampa showed the way to beat them in the Super Bowl. Just drop everybody back and get after Patrick Mahomes with 4 guys.
Right.
And to my wife, I'm saying
I'm assuming you meant combined here?
Yes, combined. Just total touchdowns, 4 total touchdowns. Whether it be running them in, throwing them, he's going to have 4 total.
That's the easy way out.
No, it's not. Look, you knew exactly what I meant when I ran it by you earlier, so don't give me that.
You're right.
So I think that's all that I'm going to have for this game. I'm trying to think. There was, one other thing, because I seen this on Twitter earlier. Bills Mafia is coming. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the video that the Bills Twitter posted, but I mean, a plane just absolutely filled with Bills fans, and Bills Mafia travels well. I mean,
they do. And I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit of a hostile environment for you on Monday night.
This is the first time I'm getting to go to a Monday night game in Nissan Stadium, and the first time I'm getting to go to a game against them playing the Bills. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that environment is there. I kind of want to see a couple tables get dove through. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm not going to do it because, I got to get up and work the next couple of days afterwards, but I want to be able to move. But, just seeing them do it, that'd be pretty fun.
There you go.
There we go. So,
I mean,
like I said, Bills Mafia travels well. I mean,
I definitely think it's going to be one of those issues where, yes, it's a home game, but there's going to be a lot of Bills fans there, unfortunately.
oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, they are one of the teams that I feel like their fan base, as far as traveling and supporting the team, is probably one of the best fan bases in the league. You agree?
Yeah. I mean, um, to me, they just have one of the most fun teams to watch in the NFL. I mean, they have a great offense that is taking risks at the right time, um, and then a defense that. Hold on,
Sorry,
let me
I'm
pull this
laughing
up
at
here.
one of the comments.
I know. I wanted to pull it up here. And then also a defense that's literally just shutting everybody out. So to me, I mean, other than the Titans, I other than the Titans, I want to specify that I think they're the most fun team to watch in the NFL right now. So I mean, you could see why. And then of course, Bills fans are just they're just that way, anyways. So whether
Yeah,
they're good or not,
and Courtney, I'm just going to tell you how, as much as we would appreciate the super chat, I think you have to pick your battles very well. And if they are willing to jump off of, dip off of top of trucks, campers, and everything through a table, more than likely I'm not going to pick a fight with them because I am not that crazy.
I'm just going to give you some friendly advice here and tell you it's probably not a good idea to pick a fight with a Bills fan.
Well, plus I want to be able to stay in the stadium and watch the game.
True.
If I get in a fight, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And get to a couple more of these before we hop off here. Jessica saying Bills, Pittsburgh, and Green Bay are the best traveling fans.
Agreed.
I could definitely see that. Like I said, definitely agree.
Hopefully the Titans can become one of those teams.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing some stories about some people traveling like crazy. Guy at work told me some of his friends a couple years ago, whenever the Titans had the playoff game in Kansas City, these people didn't have any tickets to the game. They drove to Kansas City just to tailgate outside of the stadium. They tailgated outside the stadium, got to, talking to some Chiefs fans and everything, just going back and forth with them, messing around, and said that, hey, we don't even have tickets. We just come out here tailgate, and said, we might try and go up there and find some tickets after the game starts. And that Chiefs fan told him, just stay right here a minute, and went and found them tickets to get into the game. So, it's already happening. And then my wife saying we need to go live if a fight breaks out. I mean, hey, it might be good YouTube views.
But that's true.
I'm not going to say whether or not I would get my ass whipped or if I would whoop someone's ass. I'm not going to throw that out there. Either way, good YouTube views. We'll stick with that. And I think that's going to be it for what I have this time for real. Don't know if you have anything else, but we appreciate everyone that's been here in the chat, putting comments out there. I mean, we didn't know what to expect with our first ever live stream, man. This has been awesome. We're looking forward to doing it again for sure.
Yeah, I enjoyed it 100%. Yeah, I mean, I just want to thank everybody that came and watched us live and made this first live stream a success, because we were talking before and we were like, I mean, even if we just have a couple people in here, like that's a success. Like we didn't know, we had no idea what to expect, like you said. So it's definitely been fun. And I hope that next time we come on here and go live, don't know when that'll be, but I hope we can have a similar turnout. Hopefully start, improving every time.
Yeah. And like you said, I think we've been hovering between 5 to 10 people. So we really appreciate that. And, if you haven't subscribed, we would appreciate it if you did go down and subscribe, like the video. It just helps the channel grow. And the more we grow, the more people we can interact with and have even more people in the chat.
Trying to get to my part here so I can do it. All right. And then that's been it. Thanks for tuning in with us. If you're listening afterwards on the podcast, thanks for listening. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. This has been Titans Time. And as always, tighten up.